You know, there's this one question that connects all of us. Doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Why are we so afraid of death? It's literally the most certain thing in life, but we spend so much of our energy just trying to avoid it. So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into where that fear really comes from.
But here's the thought. What if we've been looking at this whole thing completely backward? What if that one big certainty isn't a curse we should be afraid of, but actually a gift? A gift that can teach us how to really, truly live. Let's kind of hold on to that idea as we dive in.
All right, so to really get a grip on this fear, we first have to start with the one undeniable truth of our existence, the single certainty that every single one of us has to face.
Yeah, it's a pretty stark thought, isn't it? But it's a necessary one. This isn't just a possibility, it is a 100% guarantee for all of us. And since we can't change the destination, the only real question left is how do we deal with that fact while we're still on the journey?
You'd think, right, that something so universal would give us some kind of peace or clarity. But for most of us, nope. It just brings this deep, nagging fear. So to figure out how to face it, we've got to ask, where does this fear actually come from in the first place? And that's a really crucial question. Are we afraid of the actual moment of dying, or is it something else entirely? Well, it turns out the anxiety is really rooted in a couple of very powerful and sometimes clashing ideas. Okay, so a huge source of our anxiety comes right from this conflict. On one hand, so many scriptures promise this beautiful afterlife, a place of pure love, peace, and total bliss. But then, often in the very same text, there are these stark warnings about judgment, punishment, and our sins. This mashup creates this profound uncertainty about what's waiting for us. And that great unknown, well, that can be absolutely terrifying. But honestly, beyond any fear of what comes next is a fear that's so much more immediate. It's the fear of losing this life. It's that deep, gut-wrenching ache of having to leave behind everything we know and everything we love. Think about it. We spend our whole lives weaving this incredibly rich tapestry of attachments. It's made up of the simple comforts, all those memories we cherish, the stuff we worked so hard to get. But the strongest threads, the ones that tie us most deeply to this world, are our relationships, the people we love. It's such a simple but powerful idea, isn't it? We grow to love being alive. We build this amazing, complex, beautiful existence for ourselves. And the thought of just giving all that up, it feels unbearable. And that's the most natural human response you can have. Okay, so with this really deep fear, how do we cope with it as a society? Well, more often than not, we just choose to look the other way. We've become absolute experts at building a culture around one single strategy: denial. And the signs are everywhere once you start looking. We treat death like it's a forbidden topic, a word you just don't say. We distract ourselves with endless stuff, with material things, hoping to just outrun the quiet moments. We even go to incredible medical lengths to prolong life, sometimes way past the point of meeting, just because the alternative feels too scary to even think about. And this whole culture of avoidance, it leads to this really strange and, frankly, heartbreaking paradox in our everyday lives. It's one that quietly affects the very people we claim to love the most. By pretending that life is permanent, we end up acting like the people in it are too. We just get so caught up in the day-to-day grind that we totally take them for granted. It's often only when we're faced with losing someone that we're shocked into realizing just how important they were. And that whole paradox is born from forgetting that our time together is not unlimited. So, we've looked at the fear and the culture of denial it creates. But what if there is another way, a totally different path? This is the big turning point where we're offered a really radical shift in how we see things. This is it. This is the big reframe. Instead of running away from the inevitable, what if you turned around and faced it? What if you used that constant, quiet awareness of mortality not as a source of fear, but as the ultimate motivation, the ultimate fuel to live a richer, more meaningful life right now? And this isn't just some abstract concept. It breaks down into real, actionable steps. First, you just have to truly accept that the end can come at any moment. That's not being morbid, it's just being realistic. And from that acceptance, you can learn to be deeply, genuinely grateful for every single morning you get to wake up. And then from there, you can try to make your moments and your actions matter. And finally, you can treat every single interaction, every conversation, with the preciousness it deserves.
almost as if it could be the last one.
Just stop and imagine that for a second. A whole society where we were all a little more present, a little more grateful, more truly there in every single moment with each other. The positive ripple effect would be absolutely immense. Now that is a world worth striving for.
But this way of thinking isn't just some abstract theory from a book. It was actually born from a deeply personal experience, one that gives all these ideas a really powerful emotional weight.
The source for all these insights actually comes from watching a close friend navigate the very end of his life. And it's right here, in this story, that we see the true power of facing mortality with grace.
Now that word choice, isn't that incredible? A blessing. He didn't say a curse, he said a blessing. Knowing that his death was coming, as tragic as it was, gave him and his loved ones the gift of time. Time to prepare, time to connect, and time to really appreciate the moments they had left together.
So, when he was faced with the end, the author's friend didn't respond with anger or despair. Instead, he met it with this incredible calm acceptance, with equanimity, that was just inspiring to everyone who saw it. He was actually living this philosophy all the way to the very end.
And because they were both so aware of the limited time they had left, their final conversation became a goodbye without ever having to say the actual word. It was this moment of deep, unspoken connection, and it was only possible because they chose to face reality instead of running from it.
And this brings the whole thing right back to you. If you truly lived with the knowledge that any encounter with anyone could be your last, who in your life would you treat differently? What would you finally say? And maybe most importantly, how would you choose to live today?